Most of this time on this channel, I talk about NFL football as much as fantasy football and all that lies in that area. But my favorite kind of football overall is college. College football has always been something I've gravitated towards. As a Notre Dame fan throughout the years, I have loved to study a lot of their history, a lot of the Big Ten, the SEC, and all those schools. Living in Texas, you have UT, you got A&M, you got OU north of you, and for me, college football in this area is just spectacular. And one of the things that college football has done very well is rivalries. Some of the most brutal moments in sports history happen in a college football rivalry, from players meeting in hallways, yelling at each other like you see in some of the games that take place in Ann Arbor or Columbus, to fights on the field. I've seen that in LA or South Bend. There is so much to be taken away, and the culture and the traditions of a rivalry are only better in college football. I don't feel that same sentiment in the NFL outside of a few rivalries like Pittsburgh-Baltimore or Dallas-Philadelphia. So in today's episode, albeit brief, we're going to be looking at the top 5 greatest college football rivalries of all time pertaining through the history to today, looking at who's owned the series and just what makes these rivalries so special. And this is going to be a tandem as college football is just slowly but slowly it's arriving. You got the preseason for the NFL coming up in nearly a week. So there's a lot of football action that is on the way. So I hope you guys are excited as I am. Let's get ready for this video. Let's get into it. So I have a few honorable mentions that I do want to kind of point towards, but there's a reason why there's a lot of great college football rivalries that did not make the list. The first one is Georgia and Florida, which is played at a neutral site in Jacksonville. The problem is Georgia's really owned the series in the very recent days, and there's not much competition I see when I watch those games. It feels like just Georgia just goes all in and blows up in those games. Another one is Texas A&M. Now that rivalry is going to get better throughout the years, but it took a long dormant period for that rivalry to get going. Notre Dame and Michigan is a rivalry I always enjoyed watching as a Notre Dame fan, but the problem is we don't play them very often. But when we do, it's a good thing. It's a really good matchup. Another rivalry would include Bedlam, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. Those tend to be shootouts, but now we're not really going to get that rivalry anymore as Oklahoma's moved on to the SEC. And then the last one is Miami and Florida State, which tends to always have a lot of lore and history. But as of now, you've seen these teams not really meet each other at their highest form, and that can sometimes be an issue. Those are still incredible rivalries you should pay attention to. But right now, let's get to the number 5 spot. And the number 5 spot is USC versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame leads this series 50-37 and a couple of ties. But the thing about what makes this series so memorable, one, it's a Notre Dame fan. I'm going to put this in there because I am a Notre Dame fan. This is partially a personal list. But I feel this rivalry more than I do with Michigan because think about the lore and the legend behind this rivalry. They had to take buses and trains from North Indiana to Southern California. I mean, those were the days. And when you look at this rivalry nowadays, there is a problem. When the rivalry shifts to South Bend, Notre Dame always wins. The last time I remember Notre Dame versus USC and USC winning in South Bend, Reggie Bush was on the team, the Bush Push, if you remember that. But really the competitive matchups is when Notre Dame goes to Southern California to play USC. That's when the matchup is very, very active, very, very close. As of recently, it's been Notre Dame all day, and the rivalry is shifting back to South Bend. So I expect Notre Dame to overall win against USC because that's just how it's been in South Bend. But I can't deny the history. It is very, very unique and not touched upon a lot. USC's biggest rival is Notre Dame, despite the fact that it shares with UCLA and you got the Battle of LA. It's a crazy rivalry. You should check it out sometime. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we have the Armed Services, Army versus Navy. By tradition, you gotta put this one. I mean, it has its own bye week, first of all. So week 16, following all of the main conference championships, you get a whole game that's just Army and Navy alone. And it's incredible. Oftentimes it takes place in New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, all in that area, the northeastern area of the United States. and they are generally very close matchup. The reason why it doesn't go higher on this list is because it's not fun for the casual viewer today to just watch a singular game where 90% of the plays are run plays. That is very boring, and we really tend to gravitate towards games in which got 50% passes, maybe just a little bit more pass plays as a percentage overall. These plays are kind of boring, but what makes this rivalry so good is the energy, the culture, the tradition. Having to see one end of the end zone have the Navy veterans and everybody wearing their naval suits, and then the other side you got the Army veterans wearing their Army suits. And it's an incredible environment. While it was for a long time Navy, now you're seeing Army have a resurgence, so the rivalry is getting closer. I mean, Navy overall leads the series 62-55, and then a few ties, but this series will always be close, it will always be competitive, and that's what you want in a rivalry. But it's also based off respect. This is not really a hatred rivalry like we're going to see in the next 3 spots. Coming in at the number 3 spot, we have the Iron Bowl between Alabama and Auburn. Alabama leads the series with 51, Auburn has 37. But what makes this rivalry so special is some of the moments. I've had a lot of iconic moments watching. 2013, we all know what happens there. The missed field goal led back for a touchdown. You have the shootouts. Well, Auburn won by 3 points. And then a couple years ago when the game was back in Auburn, you had the crazy clutch touchdown by Alabama. Here's the issue, and it draws on the same problem as Notre Dame USC did. If the game is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama wins almost every single time. The last time I saw Auburn beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Cam Newton was the quarterback. But when the game switches over to Jordan-Hare, that's when the matchup is at its most competitive. So it's very imbalanced. If it's in Tuscaloosa, forget about it. But when it's in Auburn, go and watch it. And that does detract, because originally I had this at number 2. But the iconic moments brings it up. And it's the only rivalry really on this list where both teams are from the same state. So that's something to also put into account. I love this matchup. But again, it is an extremely one-sided affair, and so I would like to see a matchup be competitive in both sections if you're going to have going back and forth with your own stadiums. That's just why it's very low. Coming in at the number 2 spot is a matchup that happens in the best part of the year in Texas, the Texas State Fair, an hour away from me. It is the Red River rivalry, OU, Texas. Sooners, Longhorns. The Longhorns lead the series 64-51, but there is a kind of aura when it comes to this matchup. First of all, you're not going to Norman, you're not going to Austin, you're going to that DFW area, the old Cotton Bowl. Half the stadium is red, the other half is orange. And it's an unbelievable environment overall. You got the bands on the field. You got Bevo in his own spot. You got the guns shooting in the air for Oklahoma. It's an incredible experience, and I have not been to one yet. I need to go to a game. It's not that far from me. I hope to go in the near future, and if I do, I'll probably vlog it. But when it comes to this matchup, what I've noticed over the years is that they can have some shootouts. It is an offensive showcase. One of my favorite matchups ever, 2018. Texas won 48-45. What a game that was. One of the greatest games I've ever seen. You had Caleb Williams in his great comeback against Texas. You just have so many memorable moments. Now, the problem is that ever since the move to the SEC, Texas has dominated a lot more. So it has kind of felt like it's being one-sided because OU has not been able to work with Venable very well. There's some moments of brilliance. I mean, they did beat Alabama last year, held them to 3 points, but it's been Texas with Sarkisian. So the issue is it's one-sided right now. But when this matchup comes, it's going to garner a lot more viewers than just the simple Big 12, SEC, Oklahoma, Texas fans. You're going to see all kinds of fans flocking to watch this game. It sits at number 2. Number 1 is just extremely anger-filled pettiness, and I love it. Let's get to that. We all know what number 1 is, without question. It is Michigan. It is Ohio State. One of the greatest rivalries in sports history. Now, some of the most iconic moments I remember are games that happen in Ann Arbor. When you got the tunnels filled with Michigan and Ohio State players jawing at each other, that's the kind of aura I'm looking for. The problem that this rivalry had is that Ohio State used to dominate. Michigan has been on a 4-game winning streak, so kudos to them. Actually, no, hit Michigan. But overall, I love the energy. The game is always going to be on game day of the week, without question, because these two teams are generally fighting for a spot in the playoffs or something bigger. You watched Michigan win the national championship A year ago, you watched Ohio State win it most recently. So these two teams are always in this course of they're going to be playing in big moments, and this matchup could make or break someone's season. And so you tend to flock in. Now, Michigan dominates the series 62-51. Michigan's one of the most winning college football franchises of all time. But you've seen so many iconic moments in matches like these. So many iconic players who have played in this. Ohio State has a levy of wide receivers after wide receivers. Michigan, of course, has Tom Brady and some legendary running backs. And so when you look at the rivalry overall, there is too many iconic moments, too many notable names, too much anger, a lot of fighting. You're going to see hard hits. You're going to see players throwing fisticuffs. Last year, you had Michigan planting its flag directly on the Ohio State, the O, and you see the teams just come together, and it's a brutal battle. If you haven't experienced it yet, be sure, the final week of the college football season, tune in. An early game, 11 o'clock. Be sure you watch Michigan, Ohio State. You'll understand how violent that game can be. And that will do it for today's episode. Yeah, it's a very, very short episode compared to what I'm doing, but I do have some big episodes in the work, and I know I switched this with Game of the Week throughout the entire college football season. What I'm going to be doing for these next two episodes are going to both be college-orientated, but they're going to have their own purposes. This next episode, we're going to be doing the college football top 25, what I believe is going to be the preseason rankings, and then the episode afterwards, we're going to be looking at who I think is making the college football playoffs with this newly adjusted format, being the second year in a row that 12 teams get to make the playoffs. It's going to be a fun-filled episode of college football. I'm very excited to explore what there's going to be. Overall, I'm excited for the season in general. I hope my Irish are able to get back to the big game. We have a really good team, so I have a lot of high hopes there. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys are ready. If you guys have enjoyed this episode, be sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe, and go follow me on all my social medias, as I'm starting to do a little more TikTok and Instagram. So go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And if you are here from TikTok or Instagram, welcome. I hope you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and be as interactive as you can. I'll try to be as interactive as I can be with people, but obviously got a lot of editing and a lot of other stuff to do. But hey, it's the coolest thing to talk football with football fans, especially when football's about to begin. So hope you guys are happy with that. Hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.